Imagine standing on the balcony of a high-rise penthouse gazing over a city that never sleeps. The streets below are alive with movement, businesses opening their doors, delivery trucks racing to meet demands, and people chasing dreams. Now imagine that the very buildings surrounding you belong to you. This is the world of millionaire real estate investors. A world built on vision, strategy, and a relentless pursuit of financial freedom. But here's the catch, most of them didn't start with wealth. They started with knowledge. Tonight, we dive deep into the stories of 3 real estate investors who built empires from scratch. Their methods? Different. Their mindset? Unshakable. Their results? Life-changing. Daniel Carter wasn't born into money. He was a struggling bartender in Austin, Texas, working late shifts just to pay rent. But everything changed when a customer left behind a book on real estate investing. Curious, Daniel flipped through the pages and was captivated by a simple yet powerful idea: leverage. He realized he didn't need millions to invest. He just needed to learn how to use other people's money. Daniel saved up just enough for a 3.5% down payment on an FHA loan, buying a duplex in a developing neighborhood. He lived in one unit and rented out the other. His mortgage? Covered by his tenant. His living expenses? Practically zero. This strategy, known as house hacking, allowed him to save every extra dollar he earned. Within 2 years, he refinanced the duplex, pulled out equity, and bought a second property. Then a third. Before long, Daniel owned 15 rental units, all cash flowing, all purchased using leverage and strategic reinvestment. His formula? Start small. Buy a multi-unit property where you can live in one unit while renting out the rest. Use leverage wisely. Low down payment loans can be a powerful tool, but only when managed properly. Let tenants pay for your assets. The goal isn't just owning real estate, it's making sure someone else is covering the mortgage. At 33, Daniel left bartending forever. His real estate portfolio now generates over $500,000 a year in passive income. Daniel Carter wasn't born into money. He was a struggling bartender in Austin, Texas, working late shifts just to pay rent. But everything changed when a customer left behind a book on real estate investing. Curious, Daniel flipped through the pages and was captivated by a simple yet powerful idea: leverage. He realized he didn't need millions to invest. He just needed to learn how to use other people's money. Daniel saved up just enough for a 3.5% down payment on an FHA loan, buying a duplex in a developing neighborhood. He lived in one unit and rented out the other. His mortgage? Covered by his tenant. His living expenses? Practically zero. This strategy, known as house hacking, allowed him to save every extra dollar he earned. Within 2 years, he refinanced the duplex, pulled out equity, and bought a second property. Then a third. Before long, Daniel owned 15 rental units, all cash flowing, all purchased using leverage and strategic reinvestment. His formula? Start small. Buy a multi-unit property where you can live in one unit while renting out the rest. Use leverage wisely. Low down payment loans can be a powerful tool, but only when managed properly. Let tenants pay for your assets. The goal isn't just owning real estate, it's making sure someone else is covering the mortgage. At 33, Daniel left bartending forever. His real estate portfolio now generates over $500,000 a year in passive income, but Daniel's just the beginning. In the heart of Phoenix, Arizona, a young woman named Olivia Reyes walked the streets of a neighborhood many investors ignored. The homes were older, some needed repairs, and the sidewalks were cracked. But Olivia didn't see problems, she saw potential. With just $1,000 to her name, she couldn't afford to buy properties outright. But what she lacked in capital, she made up for in strategy. She spent nights studying a little-known real estate tactic called wholesaling. Here's how it works. Find a distressed property at a deep discount. Negotiate a purchase contract with the seller. Sell the contract to an investor for a fee without ever buying the property. No loans. No mortgages. Just pure profit. Olivia drove through rundown neighborhoods, making notes on properties with overgrown lawns and boarded-up windows. She called owners, knocked on doors, and sent handwritten letters offering to buy their homes. Next, we step into the world of someone who turned $1,000 into a multi-million-dollar real estate empire. A woman who saw opportunity in the places others ignored. After weeks of rejection, she finally got a yes. An elderly couple wanted to sell their rental property but didn't want to deal with repairs. Olivia locked the contract for $120,000, knowing that local investors would pay at least $130,000 for it. Within 7 days, she assigned the contract to a cash buyer and walked away with $10,000, all without owning the property. She repeated this process over and over, scaling her earnings into 6 figures within a year. But Olivia wasn't just in it for quick cash, she had a bigger vision: buy cheap, renovate smartly, and refinance. Use rental income to build long-term wealth. Invest where others overlook opportunity. By the time she turned 29, Olivia owned over 35 rental properties, generating more than $1.2 million per year in income. Her story proves that you don't need a fortune to start, you need knowledge, persistence, and the right strategy. But what if you could make millions in real estate without ever touching a single property? Our next investor did exactly that. She took her profits and started buying rental properties at a discount, focusing on neighborhoods she knew were undervalued. Her strategy: Jason Caldwell never swung a hammer. He never dealt with tenants. And yet, he made millions in real estate without ever owning a single property. How? Real estate syndication. Unlike traditional investors who buy properties, Jason built his fortune by raising money from others and investing in large-scale deals. It started when Jason, a former Wall Street analyst, noticed something interesting. While most investors were flipping houses or buying small rentals, big developers were quietly making fortunes on large apartment complexes, shopping centers, and commercial buildings. Jason didn't have the millions needed to play at their level. But he had a different kind of asset, knowledge, and connections. He began networking with wealthy individuals, doctors, business owners, and professionals who wanted to invest in real estate but lacked the time or expertise. He formed his first real estate syndicate, pooling $2 million from multiple investors to buy a 200-unit apartment complex. Jason didn't buy the property himself. Instead, he structured the deal, managed the investment, and took a percentage of the profits. Here's how he built his empire. Find undervalued multifamily properties in growing markets. Raise money from investors, offering them a share of the profits. Hire expert property managers to handle operations. Sell the property for a massive return, or refinance and reinvest. His first deal. A massive success. Investors doubled their money in just 3 years. Word spread. More investors lined up. Within a decade, Jason controlled over $500 million in real estate assets without personally owning a single property. His strategy works because real estate is a team game. Instead of using his own money, Jason leveraged other people's capital and created win-win opportunities. For those who think they need millions to start, Jason's story proves otherwise. You don't need to own real estate to profit from it, you just need to be the one structuring the deals. But what about those who want a more hands-on approach? Our next investor took a completely different path, one that turned abandoned buildings into gold mines. Marcus Hayes stood in the middle of an abandoned warehouse in Detroit. The air smelled of dust and rust, and broken windows let in streams of cold morning light. Most people saw a crumbling structure, a reminder of a city's past struggles. But Marcus? He saw a gold mine. A former construction worker, Marcus had spent years watching developers buy rundown properties for pennies on the dollar, renovate them, and sell them for massive profits. He wanted in. His problem? He had no capital. But what he did have was a skill that most investors lacked: an eye for distressed properties and a network of contractors who could bring them back to life. So Marcus did something bold. He found an old, four-story building in a neglected part of town where property values were rock bottom. He approached the owner, a retired businessman, and pitched a creative deal. Instead of buying the building outright, Marcus negotiated a seller finance deal where he would pay a small down payment and make monthly installments, cutting out the need for a bank loan. He then secured a government grant for urban redevelopment, covering 70% of renovation costs. And finally, he partnered with a local startup looking for office space, locking in tenants before construction even began. Within 6 months, the building was transformed from a forgotten ruin to a modern co-working space. Marcus refinanced the property, pulled out cash, and reinvested in more distressed buildings. His formula for success? Find undervalued, neglected properties in up-and-coming areas. Use creative financing to buy with little to no money down. Renovate smartly, securing grants and subsidies where possible. Lock in tenants early, ensuring immediate cash flow. Fast forward 10 years and Marcus owns over 20 commercial and residential buildings valued at over $75 million. He's now a leader in urban redevelopment, proving that success in real estate isn't just about money, it's about vision and strategy. But our final story is perhaps the most unexpected of all. A former school teacher who turned a simple idea into a multi-million-dollar real estate empire. Sarah Whitman loved teaching. For over a decade, she shaped young minds in a small-town school in Ohio. But despite her passion, her paycheck barely covered her mortgage, student loans, and daily expenses. One afternoon, a guest speaker visited her school, a retired real estate investor who spoke to students about financial literacy and wealth building. Sarah listened carefully. Later that night, she went home and read everything she could find on real estate investing. And then she made a bold decision. On a $45,000 teacher's salary with only $5,000 in savings, Sarah bought a tiny, rundown single-family home in a working-class neighborhood. She fixed it up herself, learning everything from painting to plumbing through YouTube tutorials. She rented it out, generating $700 a month in passive income. Instead of spending the extra money, she saved every dollar for her next investment. Within 2 years, she refinanced her first property and used the equity to buy 2 more houses. She repeated this process, growing her portfolio to 20 rental units in just 5 years, all while still working as a teacher. But her biggest breakthrough came when she discovered short-term rentals. Sarah realized that renting her properties on Airbnb and VRBO could triple her income compared to traditional renting. She transformed her best properties into luxury short-term rentals, catering to business travelers and vacationers. Her simple yet powerful strategy: start small and reinvest profits. Use the BRRRR method: buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. Maximize cash flow with short-term rentals. By the time she turned 40, Sarah had left teaching and was generating over $2 million per year in rental income. From a school teacher barely making ends meet to a real estate mogul with financial freedom, Sarah's journey proves that anyone, regardless of their background, can build wealth in real estate with the right mindset and strategy. So, what's the takeaway from these incredible stories? Daniel Carter leveraged real estate to live for free and build passive income. Olivia Reyes turned $1,000 into a multi-million-dollar portfolio using wholesaling. Jason Caldwell made millions in real estate without owning a single property. Marcus Hayes transformed abandoned buildings into gold mines. And Sarah Whitman built a real estate empire, starting on a teacher's salary. The key to wealth in real estate isn't how much money you start with, it's how you use the opportunities in front of you. So, the question is, what's stopping you from starting your journey?